Well, if you look at growth equity, you basically look at the space between venture and private equity. And you can segment growth equity in three areas. What we call venture growth, which comes right after the typical early stage, mid-stage investments in the venture space. Then you have what we call growth equity. Growth equity are people who invest in companies that are already mature, profitable, still growing nicely. And then you have the growth equity buyout players who actually try to take majority stakes in businesses, leverage the deal, which the former two don't do, and they are typically minority investors. Well, definitely. The point is, a typical venture fund, early stage fund, can probably fund a business up to 5, 8, 10-ish million of euros. That doesn't mean that that business is already generating positive cash flow, and but still has an opportunity to grow very fast. And at that stage, these companies need additional funding. That's what a typical venture growth investor would bridge. A growth equity investor would rather look at companies that, through his company he injects into the business, can still make a major leap forward while already being a profitable and nicely growing business. And so they definitely bring the companies to a point where they then might actually end up either at the stock exchange or might be a target for a typical private equity fund. I think a good growth equity manager typically should have people in his team who understand operations of a business, who have a strong idea on strategic impact and how to shape the business. And that's always a question of what growth opportunities do you take and where do you stay focused. I think this balancing is very important. And finally, what we typically experience when we invest in a venture growth situation is that teams up to that point have achieved a certain level, but typically then they need to take more senior management on board to further leverage the business. So growth equity investors are also very important sparring partners in terms of building the management team and further enhancing the management team.